Hey there, Jordan Sheridan live. It is Tuesday, February 15th. The year is 2022. Smash that like button so everybody can see this, the thumbs up button right under the live stream. The more people that press the like button, the more people that will see this very live stream. I will address our short suspension from YouTube, which fortunately has been lifted. I'll get to that a little bit later, but I don't want to waste time. Joining me now is Marianne Williamson. She was a presidential candidate running in the 2020 Democratic primary. Also, best-selling author, motivational speaker, and I would say one of the top influencers right now outside of elected progressive circles in the progressive movement. Thanks for joining me again, Marianne.
Oh, thank you for having me, and congratulations being back on.
Yes, that was tricky. I'll get to that a little bit later, but don't want to bore you with that. I guess we should start. Obviously, the top issue right now is Russia and Ukraine. It's hard to keep up because there's so much contradictory information. There seems to be a lot of information being pushed by media, certain narratives that have been being pushed. But let's start with just some of what President Biden had to say about an hour ago.
Several of our allies have also announced they'll add forces and capabilities to ensure deterrence and defense along NATO's eastern flank. We will also continue to conduct military exercises with our allies and partners to enhance defensive readiness. And if Russia invades, we'll take further steps to reinforce our presence in NATO, reassure us for our allies, and deter further aggression. To be clear, if Russia decides to invade, that would also have consequences here at home. But the American people understand that defending democracy and liberty is never without cost. This is a cause that unites Republicans and Democrats. And I want to thank the leaders and members of Congress of both parties who've forcefully spoken out in defense of our most basic, most bipartisan, most American principles. I will not pretend this will be painless. There could be impact on our energy prices. So we are taking active steps to alleviate the pressure on our own energy markets and offset rising prices.
So that was just some of what he said. It's kind of this tit for tat. Russia says they're removing some of their troops from Ukraine's border. Biden said that we have not verified that. Frankly, it's hard to keep up, but I wanted your initial thoughts because the media has basically for a couple weeks now been telling us Russia is imminently invading Ukraine to the point now where CNN, others have descended all their reporters there. What's your initial thoughts on, is it media hysteria? Should we legitimately be concerned? What's your thoughts?
Well, clearly the media doesn't really know what Vladimir Putin is going to do until Vladimir Putin does it. But it is true, indisputably, that there have been massive cyber attacks against Ukraine. The fact that the United States can be very imperialistic doesn't mean that Russia is not. And I think that sometimes we're all, I include myself in this, so skeptical about the military-industrial complex that sometimes perhaps we sugarcoat a little bit the behavior of other people as well. This is not just an issue of America's response. This is an issue of NATO's response. This is an issue of Europe's response. This is an issue of an international response. There's an issue here beyond American militarism, and that does have to do with where you draw the line and what the rights of the Russians are regarding Ukraine and what the response of the international community should be. I just hope we take a very internationalist perspective on what occurs now. And listen, I've talked to enough people in Europe, particularly Scandinavian nations. They take it very, very seriously. The imperialist tendencies of Vladimir Putin, just as you and I take very seriously the imperialistic, not only tendencies, but behavior of the United States military as well.
Right. It's interesting because if what I'm about to say gets you painted as like a defender of Russia. But the truth is, when the Soviet Union collapsed in the early 90s, I mean, there were promises made by the United States and NATO that NATO would not move further east into Russia. Obviously, that has not happened. I mean, there has been further encroachment towards Russia. So what what do you say? What is that balance between, yes, Putin's not a nice guy. He's definitely a threat. He's definitely has imperial tendencies. But at the same time, I mean, does Russia have valid concerns that Ukraine will join NATO? And basically the West is trying to further basically encroach, maybe in Putin's mind, take over.
Well, certainly you have a point. I mean, if Russia was in Canada right now, or if Russia was in Mexico right now, we would certainly be yelling about that. So the point you're making is very legitimate. It exists at the same time as the fact that Ukraine is an independent country. And both, not unfortunately, but as is often true in life, certainly in politics, two truths that might seem contradictory both exist at the same time and have to be held in juxtaposition. So when you ask me where is that line, the line has to emerge hopefully from a consensus of very wise people in leadership that is international, obviously not just the United States.
And I'll just point out, because the president kind of waxed poetic that, the people are behind him and Democrats, Republicans agree. Well, new poll conducted by Concerned Veterans for America and YouGov, 49% of the population does not favor U.S. going to war with Russia if it invades Ukraine. Only 9% strongly favors U.S. military involvement to counter Russia, while 15% somewhat favor it. So it's kind of basically almost 50% do not support it, and the rest is a bit of a mishmash. A little more than a quarter of respondents were not sure. And not surprisingly, the strongest opposition to military engagement, comes from individuals with military ties. Among the veterans surveyed, 60% opposed a U.S. war with Russia. For members of military families, the figure was 52%. So doesn't seem like there's, mass mood in this country, still kind of suffering, or some people say recovering from a pandemic, massive wealth inequality, all the things we talk about. So, your thoughts. There doesn't seem to be, an appetite for that.
I'm the first person to point out, among many other people pointing out, that the president has increased the military budget. The exit from Afghanistan was spectacularly awful, not even making an effort to prioritize the escape of humanitarian workers who are female in Afghanistan. He is endorsing an increase in the building of nuclear bombs. So I'm not like making some stand for Biden on the issue of military prowess. However, I did hear the president an hour ago. He said, we're not going to war against Russia. He's not. I mean, I think that we don't have to worry about the fact that the American people don't want there to be a war against Russia. Biden is not suggesting a war between the United States and Russia, and he was very emphatic about that. He's talking about what should be done to hold a line. He was definitely talking about sanctions, and he was talking about an international approach. I didn't listen. I'm the first person, Jordan, to yell and scream about increased military budgets, increased nuclear budgets, and the fact. And look, the arms sales to Saudi Arabia, which mean that Saudi Arabia can continue its genocidal war against Yemen. I'm not defending the president's general military posture, but on Russia, he's not suggesting a war, and I think that we should remember that. I thought his speech was sober.
Yeah, I actually don't think he is. I think the media has been pushing it. I also, the last point on this, this is more of I have not seen an exchange like this in a very long time. I'm not sure if you saw it, but an AP reporter actually challenged a State Department spokesperson.
Yeah,
who was
MacLeod.
Right. Colin, if we could play some of that.
Allegation that they might do that. Have they actually done it?
What we know, Matt, is what I've just said, that they have engaged in this activity, in this planning activity. But let me because obviously this is not the first time we've made these reports public. You'll remember that just a few weeks ago.
I'm sorry. Made what report public?
If you'll let me finish, I will tell you what report we made public. We told you a few weeks ago that we have information indicating Russia also has already prepositioned a group of operatives to conduct a false flag operation in eastern Ukraine. So that, Matt, to your question, is an action that Russia has already taken.
It's an action that you say that they have taken, but you have shown no evidence to confirm that. And I'm going to get to the next question here, which is, what is the evidence that they? I mean, this is like crisis actors, really. This is like Alex Jones territory you're getting into now.
you
what
could come out of
evidence
that.
do you have?
So that was just some of the exchange, but I thought that was important, whatever you think of Russia, Ukraine, because so much of the corporate media, not just Russia, Iraq, Afghanistan, Yemen, just takes whatever they say as the evidence.
Well, that's what the significance of that clip is. It's the fact, particularly after the spectacular failure of Afghanistan, people realizing for the last 10 and 15 years, at the very least, what were we doing there other than feeding the monstrosity of the military-industrial complex? People are recognizing that what foreign affairs journalists have been for years now is mainly stenographers who go over to the State Department and just take whatever the state's spokesperson says. So that's the significance of Mike Lee pushing back. We're no longer, hopefully, the journalists over there, at least some of them, are no longer going to just take whatever the Pentagon spokesperson says and so, okay. And so the fact that there was pushback is healthy for our democracy.
Absolutely. Changing topics, I want to you're going to have an important show tomorrow where you're interviewing a ton of non-corporate progressive candidates. So I definitely want to get to that. So the Democratic Party now, you and I, in our last conversation, talked about, I mean, essentially it's the same old, negotiating against themselves, coming up with every rationalization and excuse not to act. President Obama recently came out. Obama in a private call to House Democrats, I guess it was on Zoom, told Democrats not to complain about legislative setbacks, but to focus on their successes in a conference call. According to the report, Obama met with the House Democrats as they gathered for a retreat to discuss revamping their messaging. And amid a stalled legislative agenda, the 44th president implored Democrats to, quote, take the wins you could get, and told them that it doesn't help to whine about the stuff you can't change. So I don't know about you, sounds like a very defeatist, complacent, incremental mindset when President Biden does have opportunities still to get some legislative victories, either through executive action or actually going to the mat for some of his policies. What are your thoughts on Obama's, message?
There are several things going on there. First of all, we don't really know how much Biden can get through now in terms of legislation, but we do know what he could do with executive orders. We do know that the executive power that he still has within him is such that he could declare a medical emergency and expand Medicare to everybody today. He could declassify marijuana from Schedule I drug today. He could cancel the college loan debt today. As far as President Obama is concerned, the only good news I see there is how many people consider his opinions irrelevant at this point. To me, the former president is one of the main drivers that drove us into this ditch. I don't see him as someone who knows how to get us out of this ditch. And his idea of political strategy might be that which temporarily supports a corporatist agenda for the Democratic Party. It has very little to do with the kind of fundamental repair of our economic and social and political system that is so necessary today.
And I also think it shows a wild disconnect when he says the wins, because I think Obama, and by extension Pelosi, Biden, this and that, they think that the wins that they see, the infrastructure deal, the temporary measures like the child tax credit, that the masses feel that. And that's changing their lives structurally. When the masses, yes, maybe they temporarily got some aid from the COVID relief bill, but the masses aren't waking up. Thank God for that infrastructure deal. Can you kind of talk about that disconnect?
No, they're not. And I read today that the president has endorsed a $600 and some odd billion buildup in our nuclear arsenal over the next decade. But we were told by the mansions and the cinemas and others in the Democratic Party that 200 and some odd billion to be spent on 4 weeks of national paid leave is too much. The actual visceral experience of Americans, particularly Americans who stood in line for 7 and 8 hours to vote for Biden because they thought that their lives would be improved, is not being taken into account. How can you say to people who can't even afford their car payments, be happy because we're fixing the roads? Like you said, even though they went, there is so much that the president could do right now, despite the fact that they could not get the Build Back Better deal passed that would help people today, whether it has to do with how shackled they are by the college loan debt, the terrible disparity between those who have health insurance and those who do not, or those who have it and those who are underinsured. Just making this inside baseball talk about what the president can get done with the Senate is a kind of avoidance technique. They're trying to distract us from the spectacular failure of President Biden's unwillingness to use the kind of power that FDR used. You know, the president came in, he put FDR's picture in the Oval Office. He talked about how he was ready to be an FDR for our time. No, he's not. FDR would be acting. FDR by now already had the pillars of the New Deal in place. FDR said himself that he was willing to take drastic measures if necessary to right the wrongs that people were experiencing in their daily lives. And let's not make a mistake. I don't care if President Obama is at Martha's Vineyard somewhere with a private meeting of the big donors and the major donors of the Democratic Party. Nothing that he said takes into account the extraordinary suffering of millions of people in this country, and many of whom voted for Biden, having been promised that they would be helped.
And you and I, by the way, have talked about this before. This is creating a vacuum for the far right. I mean, the far right.
Absolutely. 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 It gave us Trump already. It gave us Trump. And now it could not only give us Trump again, it could give us something worse in time.
Absolutely. Because you see this explosion in conspiracy theories. You see this explosion in people are going out against, mandates, this and that. But then when they're out there, it seems they're out there for a whole host of other reasons. One of the root causes is economic despair, which stems to social despair. So that concerns me because I'm seeing more of that, even from people who agree with me on issues, but are being sucked into that right-wing message. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, or at the very least, even if it's not about the alt-right voting for a Trump, it's about how many people who agree with us, the only way to say fuck you that they know of is just to stay home and not vote at all. Right. Not voting is a form of passive resistance.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Last question before we get to your candidate summit, because I think this will set it up. So you and I spoke about the squad, AOC. You basically said, I don't really think it's a corrupt thing. I think they've kind of been hoodwinked and seduced by power and having a direct line to Pelosi and what have you. AOC was interviewed in New York Magazine, and she was asked directly about is it healthy or not for the Democratic Party for Nancy Pelosi to remain in place as a speaker, as leader of the Democratic caucus. She responded, it's really all about a specific moment that we're in. We are in such a delicate moment of the day-to-day, particularly with the threats to our democracy. I believe that at the end of the day, there's going to be a generational change in our leadership. The reporter followed up, you don't want to go near this one. And AOC acknowledged it's a tough question. It's not even just a question of the speaker. It's a question of our caucus. I wish the Democratic Party had more stones. I wish our party was capable of truly supporting bold leadership that could address root causes. I'm not trying to piñata AOC here. Obviously, we agree on policies, but I got to be honest. On one end, she's saying she wishes the Democratic Party has more stones, but she won't answer simply, no, I think it's time for a change.
There are many times when I really appreciate Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, but this is not one of them. That was such bullshit. That was such a doublespeak. At the end of the day, when is that end of the day going to be? When these people turn 95? Is that when the end of the day is going to be? That we're just going to wait? I mean, these people who are 80, 85, 90, holding on to this kind of power, not allowing the leadership to come up. So then Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez says, well, it will happen at the end of the day. How much time do these people think they have? And I think that members of the squad, such as her, know that many people are getting very frustrated that they're not making more noise. And so that answer that you just quoted does not work for me. And you know what? It just breaks my heart the way Republicans are more willing to stand up to their leaders than so many Democrats. Why is Nancy Pelosi still there? And I'm old enough to remember when she had some progressive spunk to her, but she doesn't now.
Right.
Look, this is a woman who had to be convinced that maybe insider trading, allowing this stock ownership, she had to be like convinced maybe that's not good. She talks about how the way she talks about the police, the way, as Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez said in that quote, they will not address the root causes. What are we waiting for?
Right.
What are we waiting for?
Well, one of the interesting things she said was, again, it's not just a question of the speaker; it's a question of our caucus. I wish the party was capable of truly supporting bold leadership that could address root causes. I mean, the part that I don't understand about that is you ran an insurgent campaign on forcing them, politically through activism to address the root causes. But now once you're in there, and it's not just her, there's others too, you're kind of succumbing to this kind of, it's too much, it's too corrupt, it'll take too long. It just seems like, in a way, I hate to say it, the activist has been sucked out of some of these politicians.
That's what tends to happen, but more on the left than on the right, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I mean, she should be, this event we're doing tomorrow night, supporting the non-corporate backed congressional candidates. That's what she should be doing right now.
Right.
And as we know, she had spent quite a bit of money that she could allocate on actually supporting incumbents.
Right.
So I do appreciate much of what she's done. But on this one, I really disagree.
So let's get to that. So tomorrow night, you, Crystal Ball, Katie Halper, sorry if I'm missing anybody else, are hosting.
Brianna Joy Gray and Juliana Forlano.
Oh, great. You Powerhouse are going to be interviewing non-corporate backed candidates, progressive candidates, to highlight important campaigns going on. I mean, it's already full swing campaign season for midterms. You and I spoke about this, but I want to dig more into it. How do you reach people that are watching and saying, well, I'm with you, Marianne, in having some hope, but isn't this Groundhog's Day? You're asking us to support these candidates again. We just talked about AOC and these progressive candidates that are getting basically seduced into inaction.
Can you imagine if the abolitionists had said, I'm sorry, I'm giving up, it's taking too long? Can you imagine if the women's suffragettes had said, oh, well, this is just bullshit, it's taking too long? Can you imagine if the civil rights movement had said, no, it's just too hard? I mean, people need to toughen up. People need to get in for the long haul. People need to stop being so precious about their own trauma over all this. Do you think the people who were walking across the bridge at Selma were not traumatized? Do you think the women's suffragettes were not frustrated, impatient, and anxious? We really do need to toughen up. This stuff takes a long time, and sometimes it's not easy. But in my opinion, cynicism is just an excuse for not helping. And it's easy to rail on Twitter, but that's why I want to introduce people to these candidates, because let me tell you what's not easy: actually running. That's what's not easy, Jordan. Because I have run myself, I have so much admiration for these candidates. If you are a non-corporate backed candidate today, you are facing the resistance of the corporatist establishment within the Democratic Party. You are facing the fact that the corporatist candidates have so much more money, and these people are getting up every day, and they're taking, on top of all that resistance, the bullshit being fed on Twitter by, why should we trust you? Well, these candidates are not unsophisticated. These candidates understand the problem with the duopoly. These candidates understand the problem with the squad when the squad does not show up. But they're saying that if we send them there, they will learn from those mistakes and they will try to do differently. So that's one of the reasons why I hope that people will go to seizethehouse.com, show up for the live stream tomorrow night, meet some of these candidates who will be questioned on just what these issues are. But I have less and less patience with people who feel just impatient with the process. Changing the world is not easy. It was never easy. And we need to be a little, I believe, less precious with our feelings about the whole thing.
Well, it's interesting because I've had conversations with people. I covered Bernie's campaign in 2016 and 2020. And I think so many people came into the political process. Maybe they got caught up by this word revolution, that they thought it's just all going to happen in a few years. We're going to topple this entire corrupt system in just a few years. Hey, I'm a journalist, but I'm also human. I got sucked in by it too, not that Bernie was trying to BS people, but I think a lot of people, younger people, even older people that got revitalized, really they became so hopeful that they realized it actually does take time. These entrenched forces aren't going to just, you're not going to just take over a corrupt system in just 4 or 5 years. So I think that friction between people not realizing that and then taking their ball and going home.
Well, also, it's an acculturation process. People have been raised on 30-minute sitcoms. By the end of 30 minutes, you get what you want. You get the climax at the end of the movie. Well, life isn't always like that. This is also an argument for knowing history, because if you do know history and you see how long it took to make certain things happen, it makes you understand your place in the flow of things more. We don't all get what we want. In fact, some of us won't even get everything we want in our lifetime, but we can die knowing that we kicked the ball down the road a little bit. You're serving the ages with big political movements like this, not just your own personal appetites.
Absolutely. And specifically tomorrow night, 7:00 Eastern, you, Brianna Joy Gray, Katie Halper, Crystal Ball, and forgot the last person.
Juliana Forlano.
Juliana Forlano are going to be hosting kind of a rotation of progressive candidates. And why it's important, you're certainly not going to see these people on CNN.
Yes, that's exactly the point.
Yeah, you probably, honestly, it's a fight just to get local media attention. You could ask Paula Jean Swearingen when she was running in West Virginia, how much local media attention she got. I've seen it across the board. Candidates, whether it be Justice Democrats, even third-party candidates, there's a real media blackout, which props up incumbency.
Well, when you were talking before about the criticisms that people make, I think some of these criticisms are due to the fact that they haven't actually met candidates like those who will be with us tomorrow night. Their stories are so moving. I mean, these are people who are actually living at the effect of bad public policy. And yet they have the skills, they have the experience, they have the expertise to actually change some of those policies. They can help us change this country, but we have to help them get there. And I think people who do come tomorrow night to the live stream, seizethehouse.com, will actually see the humanity of these candidates and go, oh, that's who you're talking about. See the diversity not only the geographical diversity, the ethnic diversity, the sexual diversity. I just hope people will allow themselves the experience. Come to seizethehouse.com tomorrow night. Meet these people. See all the people on the website. You can go there now. And I think that many people will feel hope and inspiration and maybe a sense that we can make this happen. Not immediately, not all these people are going to win these races, but some of them can if we help them.
We put the link in the description.
Thank
I think
you
it's
so
important.
much.
I think it's important because honestly,
Thank you.
Whether you are interested in a third party, whether you are interested in direct action, whether you're Dem enter, Dem exit, whatever, I think people need to stop thinking in absolutes. And I'm never going to vote for someone if there's a D next to their name. I'm never going to vote for someone if there's a D next to their name. When in reality, in most places in this country, your actual shot to win, you have to run in the Democratic primary. So if people, if I'm not telling people how to vote, but you have to look at the person, the candidate, not just what letter is next to them and making these absolutes. Because to me, that mentality is a fast road to nowhere.
Thank you so much for saying this, because this anti-electoralism trend that's out there is very, very dangerous. These people, like I said, the people who are running here are not unaware of these issues. But I know myself, I ran for Congress once, and, standing on the principle, I ran as an independent because I didn't want to play along with the duopoly. And what I learned was the level of institutional resistance. It's very, very difficult to really play in the game and to actually get in there if you're not running. As one of those two parties, that their unholy alliance has created such obstruction. The other thing I'd say to the things you're pointing out about people's anti-electoralism is we talk about action, building movements, et cetera, which of course are important. But we should also remember that BLM is the largest protest movement that's ever existed in this country. And it did not lead to one fundamental legislative federal change, not one. And so at a time when people in Washington are so connected to their obeisance, to their corporate donors, they don't really, they're not reflecting the will of the people, even when it is brought about through movement change. So like you said, enough with the absolutism and enough with I'm not saying electoralism is everything, but leaving it out of our formula for making the changes that need to be changed this time, I believe is very unsophisticated and really unhelpful at this time.
Yeah, I would tell everybody, hey, if you are done with the duopoly, that doesn't mean you can't watch this summit. It's going to have
What
a
does
lot
that
of
even
different
mean?
candidates.
I'm done with the duopoly. It's just like, I'm done with it too. But you got,
Well, I also say to people, listen, you could think whatever you want, but practical alternatives. What is the alternative right now?
yeah, if your only alternative is yelling on Twitter, then.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Marianne.
Oh,
Everybody
Jordan,
should
thank you.
absolutely. Everybody should tune in 7:00 Eastern tomorrow night. You could watch it at seizethehouse.com.
SeizeTheHouse.com.
Yes, and I'm going to watch it myself, and I really appreciate you doing this because these candidates need more face time. They need to be able to introduce themselves. Whether you decide to vote or not, there is nothing to lose to watch this, to be inspired. So definitely check it out with Marianne and those fine other hosts. Thank you so much, Marianne. We'll keep in touch.
Thank you so much. Thank you. All my best. Thank you.
Absolutely. So that was Marianne Williamson. You could check out her candidates summit, non-corporate backed candidates tomorrow night. And I think something, by the way, don't go anywhere because I'm about to tell you what happened with YouTube yesterday. But I think what she was saying, people should listen to. It's not about any one candidate, but shutting your brain off to voting for people because they have a D next to their name, because AOC and the squad aren't doing exactly what you want them to do. I mean, that's pretty toxic projection in my view. So just guaranteeing yourself and making up in your mind, oh, well, these politicians are getting along to go along, and they're not doing what I want them to do, and they're not fighting scorched earth enough, this and that. So I'm canceling all these people I've never even heard of, or I've never even heard from. That doesn't make sense. Pay attention and hear from candidates on their own merits. Maybe they'll surprise you. Maybe they'll have some criticisms for the squad or Bernie. Maybe they will present it a different way that you haven't thought of. But don't just listen to YouTube hosts telling you, no, don't vote. Don't vote if it's a Democrat. So what? We could basically do nothing, wait for the Movement for a People's Party that doesn't have a candidate yet after several years, wait for the Green Party. I mean, you have to have viable alternatives. That doesn't mean do not hold these candidate and elected progressives accountable if they get elected and they're not doing what they said they're going to do. I went and I covered a protest outside AOC's office demanding that she do more on Medicare for all. So I criticize AOC. I criticize Bernie when I think appropriate. I don't throw the baby out with the bathwater and call them, evil and terrible. You have to take things case by case, but just shutting yourself down completely. I've heard people say, no, Nina Turner is running as a Democrat. I'm out. Do you even know that Nina Turner cannot run as anything else in Ohio? Movement for a People's Party is not on the ballot. The Green Party was taken off the ballot. Okay, so the choice is, do you want her to skip the Democratic primary, which, by the way, in Ohio's 11th district, whoever wins the Democratic primary wins the election. Whoever wins the Democratic primary cruises to election in the general election against the Republican. I've gone over this before. The Democratic nominee has crushed Republicans in that district. So to these people saying, nah, she's running as a Democrat, I'm out. What's the alternative? You want her to skip the Democratic primary, just run as an independent in the general election and lose by 40? And we could call it a win because she ran as an independent. I mean, that doesn't mean you got to bow down to Nina Turner. That doesn't mean you can't have valid criticisms or say, she's not running the campaign as a firebrand, a scorched earth against the Democratic Party, like I heard her in speeches introducing Bernie Sanders. It doesn't need to be all or nothing. The point is, we're not going to get change unless we get more people in there. Now, not every person is different. So in the Nina Turner example, you're just going to assume that because the campaign she ran, she's not running. Scorched earth, Biden is horrible, the Democrats are horrible, in a very pro-Democratic area, by the way. I've gone through this before. If she would have ran, basically what part of why she lost, and I was there, I covered it on the ground. A big part of why she lost, there were billboards all over Cleveland highlighting that Nina Turner called Biden a bowl of shit. You could not turn the TV on and watch TV in that area, Cleveland and Akron, for longer than 10 minutes without attack ads. Nina Turner called Biden a bowl of shit. Do I think what she said had validity? That when the choice was Biden and Trump? Yeah. But it's a pro-Democratic area. It's a vote blue no matter who area. So if people want to live on like YouTube Purity Island and we're just going to take our ball and go home because the candidates aren't running scorched earth enough against the Democratic Party in pro-Democratic Party areas, that doesn't make sense. Listen to the candidate. Listen to their policies. Listen to what they have to say about what they would do in there in terms of voting. Would they want to vote as a bloc with other progressives? What would they do in terms of trying to use their leverage and their vote to extract more concessions from the Democratic establishment? Demand that they talk about what do they think of the current elected progressive strategy right now. They might surprise you. Now, they might not say AOC is terrible because there's a lot of YouTube hosts that make a good living just going scorched earth on the squad and calling the squad names. But at the end of the day, you got to decide what you want. Because if you're looking for candidates that are going to feed you what you feel, that's more of a national campaign. That has a better chance on a national level of working. Anti-establishment, going in against the Democratic Party. Bernie did it. I think Bernie went to a knife fight holding a spoon in a lot of cases. A political knife fight, not actual knife fight. Just being clear, YouTube. I think he pulled punches at times. But on a local level, these candidates are running in very diverse geographic areas. Some are more red. Some are more blue, like we like Biden. We like Nancy Pelosi. We tend to vote blue no matter who. They have to run and have a message that could actually win in those areas. But don't just shut them off because they're running as a Democrat. And you know what? I voted for Jill Stein in 2016. And I got a lot of shit for voting for Biden in 2020. I didn't tell people how to vote, but I said, you know what? I've seen enough with Trump. I'd rather deal with Biden and Kamala Harris and Neera Tanden and the usual neoliberal suspects than Trump, Rudy, QAnon, and the rest. I don't regret it either. But I don't live on absolutes. And maybe because I've traveled and I've been on the ground a lot, I see the pain. And there are a lot of candidates that Marianne is going to have on tomorrow that would be so much better than the people they're facing. Will they do everything you want? Probably not. No politician is. Will they say everything you want or everything you would say? No, because no one's going to do everything you want or say everything you want. The only person that will do everything you want and say everything you want is you. And by the way, it would make me a lot more money and I'd get a lot more clicks going scorched earth ballistic and hashtagging fraud squad till I'm blue in the face. Trust me, it would have made me a lot more money to do that. But I don't play for clicks and I'm not going to, push things and absolutes that I don't believe in. So, hey, it's up to you. If you don't want to vote because things haven't happened fast enough, okay. I could tell you that is exactly where the neoliberal Democratic establishment wants you. And that is certainly where the Republicans want you. That's where the status quo wants you to basically be in fetal position and say, you know what? It's too rigged. It's too corrupt. We haven't gotten everything we wanted in 5 years. That doesn't mean your anger, frustration, hopelessness, and cynicism is not well warranted. So I'm not invalidating the way you feel. What I am saying is anger and hopelessness can be weaponized for good. But if you sit on that anger, hopelessness, and cynicism and say, Bernie got screwed 2 times, or AOC and the squad have not gone as fiercely as I want them to, so I'm just not going to vote if they have a D next to their name. You can do whatever you want. I just think that's a fast road to nowhere. And pay attention to the people telling you otherwise, telling you vote for Movement for a People's Party. I mean, I don't have anything against them, but the results are the results. They don't have any candidates yet, and it's been several years. The Green Party. I'm a big fan of Jill Stein. I'm not against people voting Green and building up. But at the end of the day, I am for whatever the hell is going to work quickly and quickest. So in some circumstances, if that's voting for a Green Party candidate that actually has a chance of winning, so great. In other circumstances, if it's running for a candidate that I think is good, voting for a candidate that I think is good, okay, they're voting as a Democrat, but I see something in them that makes them think they're actually going to fight when they get in there, even better. But whether in politics or anything else, do not, I understand it's hard and I get there sometimes, particularly when I'm on the road. Please do not fall prey to this absolute mentality. And by the way, YouTube pushes that, and YouTube's algorithm pushes reactionary takes and absolutism and cynicism to the point of self-sabotage. That's what YouTube and that's what a lot of platforms push. Tribalism. Don't succumb to it. If you don't want to vote for a Democrat, don't vote for a Democrat. I'm not telling you how to vote. I'm telling you, don't shut off individual candidates based on the letter next to their name. That's not smart and it's not productive. So with that said, and we'll cut up shorter parts of that interview with Marianne. I appreciate her taking the time. I hope she didn't mind me asking about Russia and Ukraine too much, but obviously it's a big news topic, so I had to bring it up. I want to, for people that don't know what's going on as far as YouTube and this channel. So for those of you who are new, we've been on YouTube for 4 years. Please subscribe if you haven't. We have basically been hidden by YouTube for 4 years. There are certain periods where we kind of get around the algorithm suppressing us. When I say suppressing us, them not sending notifications for our live streams, even our own subscribers who subscribe to the channel. And by the way, please subscribe if you're new. Them not getting notifications or them not even seeing our content in our feed. And on January 6th, we were one of the first outlets actually live from the Capitol. John Farina, who's a freelance journalist, videographer, he got that amazing historic footage at the Capitol of the officer's head being rammed into the door. YouTube took down our live stream that day, claiming we were advancing false claims of the stuff Trump was pushing, which we were not. We were covering it because we're a news outlet. And I even have to be careful what I say right now, because it's quicksand when dealing with YouTube. YouTube, yesterday, we got an alert from YouTube that we were issued a strike for a stream we did on January 21st. Yesterday was February 14th, Valentine's Day. We got hit with a strike for a stream that happened nearly a month ago. The stream was titled Happy Hour and Haters. It's a Friday stream I do, kind of casual, read comments from viewers. Some more hateful comments, but we have fun with it. Most of that stream, I had literally been answering questions about a Flint story that I recently broke in The Guardian. So for most of that stream, that's what I was talking about, Flint. We got hit by a strike claiming we had violated YouTube's policy on election misinformation. The problem is YouTube is not actually informing us, and I found out from other conversations, other channels, what I specifically said or showed that violated its policy. So how could you function as an independent creator if you don't know what exactly what you're being flagged for? I have no idea what was said. And two people that freelance for me watched most of the stream, and they said you didn't even talk about Trump's claims. I didn't even talk about Trump's lies, and we have repeatedly called them what they are: lies. Trump lost the election. Let me repeat for YouTube's algorithm: Trump lost the election. I have pushed back on this for over a year. I was on the ground on election day in Philadelphia. I have pushed back on this lie at expense to myself. We've lost some viewers who bought into that lie. So I have not a clue what was said. And when YouTube issued the strike, it just says election misinformation. It does not tell you, like for music copyright, for example, if you get hit with a music copyright, YouTube will mark it for you what part of the broadcast you were using copyrighted music or copyrighted anything, a video clip, whatever, and you can either replace the clip or remove it. So at least you know what exactly was copyrighted, what was the violation. Now we have a shadow policy. We literally have a shadow censorship policy where we were hit with a strike for quote unquote violating election misinformation. What did we say? What did we show? There's no way of knowing. YouTube, unless you are a bigger channel, a much bigger channel, you can't get a human being to talk to from YouTube. It is all automated now. Honestly, I have no idea to update it. We appealed it and they overturned it. So meaning we were able to go live again and they rescinded the strike. I have no idea why. I have no idea. Is it because I went on Twitter and raised hell about it and fortunately got a little traction on Twitter? Well, not everybody has 121,000 subscribers, followers on Twitter. Not everyone has. Most people don't. If they get hit by a strike, if they're not told what it's for, they have no recourse when it comes to YouTube. And I spoke with Benjamin Dixon, who told me the same. He has a channel on YouTube. He told me literally the same thing happened with his channel over last summer for COVID. So they were literally showing right-wing lies on COVID and debunking them. And he got hit with a COVID misinformation policy, but couldn't get anybody from YouTube. And he couldn't find out what exactly he said that violated the policy. Forget Status Coup for a second. I'm glad that YouTube reversed it. But this is literally a shadow censorship process. Everybody's been having a debate about Joe Rogan and censorship. I said I'm not for removing Joe Rogan or deplatforming Joe Rogan. I think he has put out misinformation, but I don't think he should be removed because I think it's a broad, slippery slope that we are seeing right now in action. But beyond Joe Rogan, that's the sexy name. That's what gets clicks. This is an even graver censorship problem. How can you have a platform? And by the way, no, YouTube being a private platform does not apply here. How can you have a platform called YouTube that has policies and they could say at the drop of a hat, who knows if it's their algorithm doesn't work and their algorithm cannot distinguish between channels calling out and debunking election lies with channels pushing those lies? It seems like the algorithm cannot differentiate the two. It seems like the algorithm cannot differentiate news outlets covering live protests, even from an insurrection, with people pushing those lies. This is an incredibly toxic thing. By the way, it's not just YouTube, owned by Google, doing this. But you tell me, you get 3 strikes on YouTube and you're out. So yesterday, we were lucky. I tweeted it. I got people to share it. And at Team YouTube did not respond to my direct DM. I have no idea. Did YouTube see it was getting traction and pay attention? I have no idea if a friend of mine with a bigger channel reached out to their YouTube rep about it. I had some recourse. What about everybody else? It is insane. If YouTube wants to have an election misinformation policy, a COVID misinformation policy, misinformation policies, period, you cannot punish people without actually informing them what they said that violated your policy. How can a creator actually, it's like being blindfolded. How do you actually challenge the claim of misinformation and appeal if you don't even know what it is in the broadcast that violated their policy? What you said, what you showed. I was going through the stream. Could it be that I was showing T-shirts we're selling called the United Corporations of America? Is that misinformation? I mean, it's just insane. Which you could go to statuscoup.com/store, by the way, to get that fine shirt. And you want to know something? Here's the problem. Not only is it harmful in terms of a shadow censorship, you don't know what you said or showed that violated the policy. In my case, in Status Coup's case, we were able to get the strike rescinded. Again, I don't know. There is no longer a direct for us, we never had a direct line to YouTube. We have 127,000 subscribers. You would hope that could get you a human being, but YouTube has automated everything. There used to be an email, YouTube support. Now, when you email that, you get an automated message to click on a link for Help Center, which takes you through a maze. YouTube has made it so basically it is an automated robotic system with no accountability. And even if they say you're violating their policies, they won't tell you what you did to violate it. And beyond that, we were lucky. We got it reversed. How do I know what it is that even triggered it in the first place? So I avoid saying, avoid saying something, avoid showing something, put a disclaimer. How do I not get another strike if I don't even know what I got a strike for? And by the way, this is not just a Status Coup problem. I spoke with at least 2 creators, told me the same thing happened to them. Listen, if YouTube has been suppressing this channel for 4 years, we are only literally at the skin of our teeth right now, surviving financially because of a small paid membership model. And we need more people to sign up. We have no corporate funding. I have no banks funding us. I have no fossil fuel companies giving us money. Big pharma, big real estate, Silicon Valley. I would die and go to heaven if I could get funding. But there's not a lot of, altruistic people with values that want to fund something like this, that goes out on the ground and covers important stories. Flint, union busting, the working class, Black Lives Matter, homelessness. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of outlets funders that want to fund something like that. If you're watching, please reach out to us. info@statuscoup.com. Tell you the truth, I'm just being honest. I'm trying to do this as long as I can, but I'm getting beaten down. I'm tired of dealing with this shit on YouTube. I work on a slow day, 11, 12 hours. On a really long day, 16, 17 hours. I don't have a backup to me because we don't have funding. I don't have any other reporters full-time. I don't have a producer full-time. I don't have a booker booking guests full-time. I don't have full-time marketing. This is all me. We have Colin and 2 freelancers helping us, but we don't have the funding for full-time work, for full-time help, and the staff I need to grow this. What I have is a vision. And what I have is I want to continue covering stories that other people will not cover. But if YouTube is going to continue hiding this channel, which they're doing, if YouTube is going to continue, it's not just what happened yesterday. They literally, how backwards this is. Kyle Kalinske covered it. Several other people covered it a year ago. YouTube literally took down our live stream from January 6th. We were live. John Farina, freelance videographer, was live for us from the Capitol. Frankly, I'm not being dramatic, at risk to his life. He had serious cracked ribs from Trump supporters in that Capitol corridor. So for all the people that want to minimize January 6th, look at the footage he got. So we were live and YouTube took it down. What they took down, that footage, we licensed it all over the world to domestic news outlets, to global news outlets. Our footage was taken down. Those outlets, with our footage that we licensed them, their footage is up on YouTube, no problem. The original source had it taken down because the original source, there was a claim we were advancing election fraud claims. Literally, John Farina was live doing historic journalism that he should win a Pulitzer for, by the way. He should win a Pulitzer for that work. And it was taken down by YouTube. What kind of system is this? And frankly, there's a lot of bigger channels, quiet as a mouse on this. Quiet as a fucking mouse on this. Why should I, on Valentine's Day, by the way, on Valentine's Day, all night, I was sending out a tweet instead of spending time with my wife so that I could get traction on the tweet about this, that we were given a strike, that we were, with that strike, not able to broadcast for a week, not able to upload videos for a week, not able to publish for a week, which is a huge hit to us. Like I said, we're not like doing gangbusters here. We can't afford to go dark for a week with content. I had to spend all night trying to get people to share this tweet with the hope that if I get traction on the tweet, YouTube will pay attention and reverse it. I don't even know if that's what happened. I don't know why they reversed it. I don't even know what the strike was for. This is a batshit crazy system. And you want to know what? To me, what YouTube is trying to do, and let's be very specific, Google. And by the way, it's a risk for me to even say this. It's a risk for me to go off like this, but at this point, I have to. What Google is trying to do is get people like me so fed up that we're just going to quit. What Google is trying to do, what YouTube is trying to do, is trying to get actual journalists fed up and just make it's basically what the oligarchy is trying to do. Make you give up. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm beaten down. I am sick of this shit. Because I know if YouTube would stop suppressing channels like this, if YouTube would stop with their algorithmic cheating, because when we talk about algorithms, what they're basically doing, what YouTube is doing with the algorithm, it's a fancy word. They are rigging the information system. And it's not just YouTube, by the way. They are propping up channels. By the way, a lot of right-wing channels. Look at Facebook and who are the top performers on Facebook? Ben Shapiro and these right-wingers. You think it's because people just love Ben Shapiro? Or is Facebook feeding that stuff? Same thing on YouTube. YouTube is feeding people reactionary, hot take conflict. And when I break a story on Amazon union busting, no notifications go out. When I break a story on Flint, no notifications go out. Why is that? Somebody tell me. I wish I had a YouTube rep to tell me, but I'm not big enough, I guess. And by the way, to the people who say, well, Jordan, just get off YouTube. That's like, I don't know if this is the right, I don't know if this is the right analogy, but that's like telling people in Flint, just move. Where do you want them to go? I'm not comparing myself to poison people, by the way. I'm just, I'm bringing that up because it's kind of like you could tell people just to go do something different. Unfortunately, there are not major platforms out there that have the reach YouTube does. So I've tried Rockfin, I've tried other things. Unfortunately, we're not there yet. If there was people with money and funding that could create something different to bring independent people together, I spoke with Brianna Joy Gray about that. I've spoken with others about that. I think we're all living on our own fucking islands, doing live streams at the same time, posting videos at the same time, basically people talking about the same shit as each other, and there's zero collaboration because there's cliques in progressive media. There's people who do everything together, but there's certainly not solidarity and an actual organized progressive media ecosystem. But I got to be honest with you, I am really it's really infuriating because at the end of the day, I have traveled the country for 6 years, and I know there is a demand for real investigative and on-the-ground reporting. But YouTube is making it so people can't see it, and YouTube is making it that it is not profitable to do that. And YouTube is making it that basically that kind of content is being hidden. So then it gets to, okay, I mean, I spoke with some people that are freelancing for me. Then I just got to ride the wave. I got to start covering more trendy stuff, more hot topic stuff to get people in the door. I'm going to have to do that. That's the truth. I'm unfortunately going to have to start doing that just to get people in the door to this channel. More hot topic-y kind of stuff. And that runs the risk of alienating the core viewers who don't come here for that stuff. But what do? If the bread and butter reporting I do, if YouTube is hiding it and suppressing it, literally when I say that, they haven't sent notifications out for certain videos on specific topics. I'm tired of playing this game of whack-a-mole with YouTube. And I appreciate that Kyle Kalinske has spoken out about this in the past, and Breaking Points has spoken out about this in the past. More people need to speak out about this because it's not just about Status Coup. This is shadow censorship, what's going on. Everyone thinks the main censorship right now is Rogan. I'm not for Rogan being removed. I think he has said some really stupid shit. I think he's put out stuff that's wrong, intentionally or not. And I've said my piece on that. You don't have to agree, but I'm not for him being removed. But how do you have a system where you could actually have independent journalism if they are literally giving you strikes without telling you what you actually did, if they are not sending notifications out for your videos to even your subscribers who subscribe. I tell people all the time, Colin, if you could show it, click the bell. Next to the subscribe button, click the bell. You press subscribe, and then you click the bell, choose all notifications. I've had to tell people to go back who did this, and they tell me, oh, it wasn't on all, even though I set it at all notifications. Please make sure that you have it set on all notifications, everyone watching. And I'm not going on a rant right now for pity. I'm genuinely frustrated. I'm genuinely at my wit's end because I don't know what to do as far as YouTube. And I appreciate the people who have been supporting us. We've gained over 100 paid members over the last month or two. I need more people to consider signing up because the only way for me to fund, if YouTube is going to continue doing this, we have to be prepared for a day where maybe they go all the way and they remove us. So the only way for us to survive, if that happens, is if we have a significantly higher paid membership base. So if you can, please sign up. StatusCoup.com/join. StatusCoup.com/join. You could become a member for as low as $5 a month. We have $10 a month plans, $5 a month plans, $20 a month plans, or $179 annually. You get great perks as a member. We do a monthly members call through Zoom. We have a members only Discord. For those that can't even afford $5, that's fine. Please just share our content. Please make sure you've clicked all notifications for the bell. We also have a GoFundMe going. Please, if you can, contribute there. Any amount makes a big difference. But I mean, how do you grow? How do you grow? And how do you even get more eyeballs on these important stories if YouTube is not sending out notifications, if YouTube is suppressing your content, if YouTube is giving you strikes and not even telling you what the hell you said or did to get that strike, if YouTube has no actual human beings you could call or email to explain or troubleshoot or work, YouTube, calls your creators. How could you have creators if there's no partnership? It's crazy. It's crazy. Please support us if you can. I don't want to miss anybody. Thank you for signing up as a new member. Barry just signed up. Beth just signed up. Susan just signed up. Nancy just signed up. And Ellie just signed up. So that's 5 new members. We got 3 yesterday. If it's within your means, please sign up. StatusCoup.com/join. You can become a member for $5 to $10 a month. It makes a big difference. I'm just keeping it real. I'm just being honest, not even sugarcoating my frustration. I don't know why we got a strike yesterday. I'm happy they reversed it. But again, it could have went the other way. Let's say I tweeted about it and it got no traction on Twitter. That fact that YouTube gave us a strike and didn't give us a reason. You think they would have acted so quick on it? How many other channels are dealing with this where they're getting strikes and they don't even know what for? How do you even have a system where you're punishing people and not even telling them what you're punishing them for? That is a zero accountability system, and that is a shadow censorship system. Thank you. New YouTube member, Sandra Jane. Yes, you could sign up via YouTube. Thank you, Sandra Jane. But, and to be honest with you, in addition to the Omicron surge, I haven't gone out in the field because our numbers have been down because of what YouTube's been doing. So I haven't been going down in the field because each reporting trip costs between $3,000 and $4,000 on the cheap. So for me to go to Flint, the John Deere strikes we covered last year, going to Buffalo to cover India Walton's election, the Starbucks workers unionizing, the nurses that were on strike, going to cover all these things, the campaigns we've covered, Homelessness, we did a reporting tour on the ground. Mass evictions, we did a reporting tour. Louisville, Kentucky, to cover Breonna Taylor's murder cover-up. All these things cost a lot of money. So if you're going live on YouTube, even with 127,000 subscribers, to 200 people live, 300 people live, people aren't getting notifications. People aren't, subscribers are telling me, I haven't seen your videos in my feed and I'm subscribed for weeks, for months. It makes it really difficult to go out there and afford it. So I am not beyond begging. Please, if you can, sign up as a Status Coup member, statuscoup.com/join. There's a whole lot of places that ask you for money. And what do they do with it? What do they do with it? There's not a whole lot of places that ask you for money and then do a lot with it. Colin, I don't know if you have the map. If you do have the map, this is what we have done over the years. This is all the places we have gone with zero corporate funding. A lot of that was GoFundMe, and a lot of that was our paid membership model. Yes, what do you think Status Coup could do with the funding of the Young Turks or Joe Rogan? Well, the first thing I would do if I had the funding of the Young Turks or Joe Rogan is actually hire a team. Because I'm not going to lie to you folks, and my wife could tell you, the wheels are starting to fall off on me. There's always so much one person could do. I've tried my best to be live every day and do investigative reporting and book guests and deal with logistics, but there's only so much one person could do. We need funding. We need more members. We need more people to sign up. We need more people to help us fund this. And if you are somebody with larger pockets, reach out to us. We're not taking money from corporate villains, massive Democratic Party or Republican donors, but if you are somebody aligned with our values, who's progressive, you don't even have to be capital P progressive, but cares about the stories we cover, understands that if you were providing us funding, you would not have editorial say. Info@statuscoup.com. Reach out to us. Info@statuscoup.com. And thank you, by the way, because yesterday when we emailed out that we were temporarily given a strike and suspended from YouTube, people started donating to the GoFundMe. Let me just read off a couple that donated. Anonymous, $10. Barry, $50. Janos, $10. Arturo, $5. Frederick, $20. Andre, $10. Greg, $5. Terry, $25. Anonymous, $300. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So those were all over the last 24 hours. And please, any amount makes a big, big difference. Our GoFundMe, I just put in our GoFundMe link, and Colin will put in the GoFundMe link under the video, under our description. So I don't want to go in circles and repeat myself. Obviously, you know what's going on. I hope YouTube doesn't strike again based on me speaking the truth on what's going on. But somebody's got to, I really hope people with bigger platforms than me start speaking out about this, even at risk to themselves. Because right now it's coming for me and Status Coup. It's going to come for all of us at some point. It literally. We have 127,000 subscribers. Look at the views we're getting on this channel. I have my freelance people who help me with marketing, analytics. They're telling me literally we're not, most of the time, we're not fed to anyone outside of our subscriber base. Most of our audience is subscribers. We don't really get recommended that much. For certain videos, YouTube is just not sending out notifications. It's crazy. Kyle has experienced this. Other channels have experienced this. It starts to wear on you. And yes, I've gotten emails from people offering to help. Here's the thing. We're not a nonprofit. We're a for-profit. I cannot have volunteers. We can't have people volunteering for no pay. We're a progressive company. We don't want to work people working for free. So I appreciate people who have offered to help, but we can't have, we can't have volunteers, and we need funding to pay people. So that's the issue. let me just give any more shout outs. Christine just signed up as a member. Barry. So Christine, Barry, Beth, Susan, Nancy, Ellie. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 signups while we've been live. Thank you guys. I really, really appreciate it. Let me read some super chats, and please keep signing up if you can. Again, thank Marianne Williamson for coming on. Carpe Diem, $5. Saudi Arabia in Yemen, no problem. Here, Saudi Arabia, have more missiles. Yep, Marianne brought that up. Chris, $10. Cable News aired a story, poor Ukrainian grandma preparing to protect herself from evil Russians. She was being trained by someone with a neo-Nazi insignia on their belt. Also, F YouTube for censoring you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Mad Ocelat God, $5. If you run, make winning secondary. Cultivate a following. Advise specific action to the crowd, not just voting. Until then, the crowds mean nothing. I mean, I think if you're running, winning should probably be primary, but I do understand what you're meaning. What you mean about cultivate a following, make winning secondary. I mean, Cori Bush, for example, she lost by, I think it was 30 or so points the first time. She got her name out there. She got a following, and she won the second time only 2 years later. So there is something to be said for building a following, getting your name out there the first race. Kerry, $3. Thank you so much, Kerry. Cheryl, $20. I'm unsubscribed from Status Coup at least once a week. That's another thing. Magically, people are being unsubscribed. I mean, this is like some dystopian big tech shit. You know, that's why I've said I'm not for Joe Rogan being censored. At one point during January 6th, when I kind of got caught up in the moment, I had called for people who had stoked the Stop the Steal stuff to be removed. I apologize for that because I was wrong. I still get shit for it, but I apologize. Not that those outlets weren't irresponsible, but obviously these big tech platforms are not going to stop at just removing people that theoretically have done things wrong that theoretically could be removed. They're not going to stop at that. So that's why at this point, I'm not for any censorship unless you're explicitly calling for violence. Explicitly calling for violence. There are laws against that. But what we're dealing with right now as small independent YouTube creators, and by the way, I mean this humbly, I'm one of the only hosts on YouTube. We're one of the few independent YouTube outlets that actually goes out on the ground and covers things. It's extremely hard to do that. It's extremely expensive to do that. We have never had the full funding to do that. So is it a coincidence that we're one of the only outlets that does on the ground reporting, yet we're this suppressed, or we're getting strikes with no explanation? Colin, if you could get the video on our homepage. I don't want to play the whole thing, but I want to play some of it so you actually see what we're doing. And maybe that's part of the reason YouTube is suppressing it. YouTube is not notifying people. Subscribers are telling us they don't see the content. They don't see us when we're live. They don't see your videos in our feed. Maybe I need to do more reactionary hot take shit. I don't know. But for those of you that are new, maybe you haven't seen a lot of this content. Colin, if you have it, I don't know if you have it.
Congratulations for always being somewhere where mainstream media is not.
I mean, it really has been an economic Hunger Games that's being depicted by corporate media that happens to take advertisements from companies like John Deere as the wealthiest country on earth, American dream, work hard. Can you kind of talk about the disconnect you felt in these conditions working at John Deere while you were getting less and less, but it's depicted much differently?
Yeah, I mean, I think you said it all. Look, corporate media controls the narrative, and that's what's fed to people every day.
Talk about the threat beyond you to people fighting these pipelines, this pollution, and this greed and evil.
What's happening to me is a new fossil fuel industry playbook.
What am I going to do? Where am I going to go to be homeless? And I never dreamed in all my life I would ever be homeless.
You know, Joe Biden, proclaims to be the most pro-union president in history. Where's he at? Where's he talking now?
Joe Manchin has been the thorn in the side of West Virginians for decades.
We're just a number to them. We're as replaceable as a light bulb.
We are now over 7 years past this catastrophe in Flint, where residents, many of which are behind me, were poisoned.
Go all the way back to the media and that. They're not there for us. There's no one there for us. We're all here struggling and nothing's being done.
You're not talking about like residual scars from 6 years ago. You're talking about stuff you're getting now.
This is in the last 24 hours.
You know, I always talk about how to get away with murder. Ask Snyder, ask Nussel. They're all helping him do it.
She was very family oriented. She light up the room when she comes.
Oh, and they wanted to get rid of her pension.
Oh,
so yeah. So like all the senior nurses, not only are they're not getting the wage, their pension is being frozen.
You're currently homeless, working at Amazon?
Currently am, yeah. I have been homeless for the past, 2.5, almost 3 years that I've been here now. And I haven't been able to afford a place.
This whole sordid, crappy affair is completely illegal.
Hey, yo, stop it!
Unmask them! Unmask them!
Fuck you!
Unmask them!
Literally private property all over the fence, even though I believe we're on a public sidewalk. So in Amazon's world, it's private property.
Our elected officials, both of mine, Shelley Moore Capito and Joe Manchin, has just like always, like they did with the minimum wage raise, ripped the people out.
Corporatist politicians like Nancy Pelosi are telling us we have to wait longer.
We are now living at a time where a generation must rise up, not out of anger, but out of survival.
And Eastern Kentuckians in general are hardly ever afforded the opportunity to tell our own stories.
I end up getting a call from work in March, and I was evicted.
I be wanting to snap out, I be wanting to go crazy, because it's destroying me, and there's nothing else to do. But I hurt, I cry every night.
We're back to normal. Well, I'm going around, and it seems like we're just back to the shitty normal that's only getting worse.
If back to normal means we're back to being underpaid, it means we're back to being worked like dogs, it means that they're back to harassing homeless people, you can keep your fucking normal.
She did not say, okay, I'm going to go to be a doctor, and this is something that I'm just going to have to do. I'm going to have to come in here and do this. She did not. She signed up to be a night sorter at Amazon. She had no business COVID testing.
Corporate media had us believing that we're just lucky to have a job. We're lucky. If you're still at a place that still offers insurance and you're not paying, you're lucky.
Seconds, it's not minutes that your time off task starts. They track you down to the second.
And the houses are pretty nice, pretty big over here, as opposed to the east side, which is fairly poor, less signs in general. But you can see vacant lots. Vacant lots.
It's not that they don't like the public to come up, it's like they're so busy and the way that they go about things is just like...
Right, to block the public from coming up. I'm pretty sure the Flint Journal knows about it. They broke it in the Detroit Metro Times and The Intercept on Governor Rick Snyder's administration. Their phones were deleted right before the launch of a criminal investigation. Health officials' phones had no messages on them. The governor refused to hand over key documents. I mean, to be honestly, I know you guys know about it. I don't know why you're not reporting it.
I will point out that all the officers here are white.
Joe Biden, you said that if we get you into office, we elect you into office, you got our back. You said, black community, I got your back.
I don't understand why they're here. I don't understand why
they have to do all this because one of their people decided to kill somebody. Fucking kidding?
All right.
Okay, ready. Leave the area, guys.
So that was some of what we did last year. That, in large part, is what YouTube is suppressing. That, which you don't see on CNN. You don't see it on MSNBC. You don't see that kind of stuff in many places. So please, anything you could do to help us. You know, I saw one comment. Jordan's on-the-ground coverage and interviews are from Mary. Jordan's on-the-ground coverage and interviews are his strength. Sticking with those would have donations raining in. Yeah, you're right. The issue is it's a chicken and an egg. We need funding to do more of that. We need funding to hire other people. As passionate as I am, I'm only one person, and I'm also human, and I'm burnt out. I want to bring on more people. We need not only more on-air people in terms of reporters. We need more camera people. We need more equipment. We need producers. It's very expensive. So I don't think people realize, you know, when you say Jordan's on the ground coverage and interviews are his strengths, sticking with those would have donations raining in. Yes, but you also need money to cover these things, the tech equipment, the live view that we pay for, data, the server, flights, hotels, rent-a-cars, food. It's very, very expensive. And I can't do every trip and I can't do every protest. I'd love to do everything, but I have to have some aspect of work-life balance. I haven't had it in 6 years, and it starts to wear on you. We'd like to hire other people. We'd like to hire other reporters, other marketing people, other producers. I mean, we would love a business development person. So please support us, statuscoup.com/join, statuscoup.com/join. If you can support us broader than membership, you could donate to our GoFundMe. It's in the description. Any amount matters. We got a new member. Thank you, Christopher, just signed up. So that makes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 new members today. Hey, if we could start getting 8 or 9 every single day, that makes a huge, huge difference. If we could start getting like 10 new members a day, I'd love more. But if we could get that every single day, new people signing up, then we could stay independent. I'd rather quit and not do this than take corporate money or try to sell out. There's no point in doing this to go work for, to go work for a big financial master who's going to try to water this down. I'd sooner retire from journalism than do that. But we need help. We need help. That's all I could say. You know, I saw somebody saying, "Oh, Jordan, this whole unsubscribe thing, it's a lie. I'm never unsubscribed. I get all your videos." Well, you're one. Because for every one person that's getting all our videos and seeing all our content, I could show you a lot more people that aren't. Perfect example. When I broke the recent Flint story that's still at the top of my Twitter, it's the first tweet that's pinned for The Guardian. I was fortunate enough to get on a bunch of shows. So I got on with Brianna Joy Gray, Ring of Fire, Kyle Kalinske shouted us out, Breaking Points covered it. I went on with The Hill. I went on with a bunch of places, and it helped bring new eyeballs to the channel. And we got a lot of subscribers. I can't tell you how many comments came in. Jordan, I've been subscribed forever, but this is the first time I've seen you in forever. I never see you in my feed. That's not an accident. So, you know, I've been talking to my freelancers. We might end up doing more hot topic-y, trendy stuff just to get traction and get people here. I hope you don't mind, but we might just do more kind of commentary on news of the day, hot topics, while still trying to do more investigative on-the-ground stuff. But YouTube's algorithm is making it that if you don't do more, frankly, clickbaity, hot topics, follow trends, they're not going to show your content. That's unfortunately what's going on. So I'm going to try and do the best of both. Still kind of deliver the vegetables and the substance, while also delivering some dessert, I guess you could say, to get more eyeballs here. Yeah. Silence is violence just said, I hardly see Status Coup on my Twitter feed. They hide it. That's another place we've been suppressed. Twitter. Follow us at Status Coup. Click for notifications from Status Coup. So anyway, I could go on forever. I don't want to go around in circles. Let me read other super chats. Carrie, $2. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Carrie, $100 tip on Rockfin. Don't quit, Jordan. Thank you so much, Carrie. That I really, really appreciate. That's a generous donation you made. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I'm definitely doing my best not to quit. So thank you for that generous. Very much appreciate that donation. Das Bosch Fleisch, $4.99. You against CNN in a fair game? I'd love to see that. Keyword fair game. Yes. If I ever got equal footing where put CNN up on the screen versus us, I would take my chances what people want to watch. I'm very confident they would choose us, the masses. Problem is, I don't have CNN's distribution and I don't have CNN's audience, and YouTube is stuffing people's feeds with CNN and hiding channels like us. And if you could tell that I'm exacerbated, that I'm overwhelmed, that I'm frustrated, that I'm just at my wit's end, you have very good intuition, because that's how I feel. I feel at my wit's end dealing with YouTube. And I wish there was a different platform that I could go to that I would have the same opportunity for reach as YouTube. I don't want to go to Rumble and like serve right-wing audiences. That's not what I want to do. Yes, that's what Rumble is. I don't want to, there's all these flash in the pan outlets that pop up, and in a year they're gone. And they don't have the base that YouTube has. So, Loner Weirdo, €3. Thank you, Loner Weirdo. I appreciate that. Let me make sure I didn't miss any member signups before I go. Christopher, Ralph, Sam, Christine, Barry, Beth, Susan, Nancy, Ellie, Alexander. Thank you. That's 9 new members so far today. You could email us at info@statuscoup.com, info@statuscoup.com. If you like what we're doing, if you want to talk to us about what we're doing, if you want to help financially in some way, we would love to hear from you. We can't take volunteers. We want to grow our funding so we can hire more people. So anything you could do to help us, we greatly, greatly appreciate it. It's myself, Colin. We have Tina freelances from time to time. I have 2 freelance people helping with marketing and things like that. Please, anything you could do, really, really appreciate it. Thanks for all the people who signed up as a member today. Thank you to Marianne Williamson for coming on. Thank you to the GoFundMe donors. Let me read a couple there because we got a couple. Thank you, Julie just donated $25. Matthew just donated $5. That's followed by the donations I did read already. Anonymous, $10. Barry, $50. So the GoFundMe, don't be fooled. It says $179,608. We don't have $179,000 from the GoFundMe. We raised that over 4 years, and we've been spending the GoFundMe as we go. That's what that map is. The map of all the places we've been. The GoFundMe is why we were able to afford freelancers around the country to cover things, why we were able to afford the Live View that we bought, which was $25,000. The Live View, which is the broadcasting unit we use when we're on the ground. So that's what all that's for. So definitely thank you, everybody, for watching. Again, thank you to Marianne Williamson. Sorry that I've been a little long-winded, but I didn't want to miss any super chats or member signups. And spread the coup. If you're already a member, please spread the word. Again, everybody, make sure you have it set on all notifications. All notifications. So it's next to the subscribe button. You click on subscribe, and then click that bell, and then all notifications to make sure you have it set on the right thing. Thank you for watching, and have a good night.